Hi, and welcome again to this latest episode of La Plata Ward 4 Update podcast and video. This is David Jenkins, La Plata Town Council member from Ward 4, and your host for this podcast and video, and now also available on YouTube and YouTube Music. Please note that the opinions expressed here are solely my own and do not express the views of the town of La Plata. This is the first, and I hope, a series of podcasts about the Town Council's review of our fiscal year FY 2026 operating budgets, our capital improvements plan, and our enterprise funds. This particular episode today is about the Council's first review of two proposed draft operating budgets for FY fiscal year 2026. And these were reviewed at our council meeting on March the 18th, 2025. The YouTube video from the Town of La Plata YouTube site is available for viewing as well. So the two operating budgets that we looked at, and we did not reach a decision on March the 18th, was one operating budget, which would be a budget that would include a 457 budget plan. The other draft version is a budget that would include a pension for police and public works. This current screen then tells you about our calendar, how we go about reviewing the budget. So we're now at our first viewing of the budget. Operating budget was on March the 18th, and we'll come back on March 25th for the next series. So again, the two operating budgets, draft budget that we looked at on the 18th, there was no vote, no position taken at the time. We will continue our review at our next meeting on March the 25th. The budgets were provided to us in advance on Friday evening about 5 o'clock on March the 14th. I did have a chance to review the budgets over the weekend and did provide written comments and questions to our finance director Monday evening, which is March the 17th. Now, again, all the information I'm giving you are all the materials we have received from staff. So that's the source of the information. So first, again, here's the calendar of where we are right now. So we're at March 18th, and then we'll come back next week to continue our review. This is the remainder of the calendar until hopefully we get to the point where we'll have public hearings in April, and then we get to the point where we'll have adoption by all the budgets and any fee schedule changes by late April. And the reason why is because of two reasons. There will be a new council election on May the 6th, and then they'll take office on May 16th. So we want to do right by have that in place, as well as we need to have it in place so the county does and prepare all the tax notices to all the residences about their property tax information. So they do that for us, but unfortunately then we have to have it to them by a certain date. So therefore they pay for that and we don't as a town. I'm first going to start with our finance committee. This is a new committee that was formed this past fall at the recommendation of the finance director. The then council agreed with that, and I voted for it. So it became part of our ordinance, which was adopted, I think, in the fall. And so they've been in place with 5 town residents. There's certain requirements for them to be on the committee, having a background in accounting and financial planning and that kind of information or background. So they started meeting in January. So they have reviewed these two draft budgets that I mentioned earlier. One is with the 457 pension plan. The other one is with a specific specialized pension plan for police and public works. So I'm showing you on the screen their recommendations based upon their review since January and February. This information was provided to the council at the start of the meeting on March the 18th. So we didn't necessarily get a whole lot of chance to review this, but these are their recommendations. And again, you can see that discussion of their presentation and our questions. You can see it again from the Town of La Plata YouTube meeting video of March the 18th, 2025, and that discussion starts at minute 8 minutes and 50 seconds into the video. So they've recommended that the town adopt as an operating budget the budget that would include a 457 deferred compensation plan for all employees in lieu of or not having the funding of a custom municipal pension plan for police officers and eligible public works employees. That's the second draft. So they've recommended the operating budget with a 457 deferred plan in it. The second recommendation is to hire a dedicated project manager that would specifically manage town projects that are funded by grants. I'm in agreement with that. I think that's important because we want to be in a position where if we receive grant money, we can implement them, construct them, get the project done so we don't lose out on any grant opportunities. And the third recommendation, of which I'm opposed to, is they made a recommendation that they remove or postpone the budgeting and funding for a planned $90,000 land survey until a town planner is hired. I need to correct something. And again, in my opinion, I was the author of this budget request 2 years ago. It was in the budget in 2024, but for some reason it was moved to a different place, and then it was removed when we were preparing the 2025 budget. So I resubmitted it again for the second time. It was included in both proposed operating budget, but the Finance Committee is recommending it be removed. And I also want to correct one other thing. It's not a land survey. It's a study where the town would engage a consulting firm to do an analysis, a land use fiscal analysis. What does it cost development when they come into the town? What does it cost the town in terms of services, tax revenue we receive versus services provided? I think there's an imbalance, and I think it's good to have that information now and in the future, and in particular as we begin to take over more infrastructure as new development is built. So it's kind of a brief overview. So let me go into the first budget option for operating budget. That is what we refer to as a 457 deferred compensation plan. Now, I would also note that these summaries of the budget challenges in terms of the water agreement, ARPA funding, and the general fund overview are essentially the same for both budget options. There is a challenge with respect to the water agreement. That is, we've been attempting to work with the county to come up with a water supply, a water source agreement. That has not been accomplished, so it's somewhat difficult to really plan out how future development may impact the town. So we're still working on that with the county. The ARPA funding will be sunsetting shortly, so we have to think about this proposed in future budgets. And then this just gives you kind of an overview of our for the operating budget under this scenario of what the projected revenues, whether they're unrestricted or reserved, and the increase, and then expenses are projected out for FY26. So this kind of gives you an idea what they are. And again, there's a very good discussion of both budget proposals on the video of the Town Council meeting of March the 18th. Again, the Town of La Plata YouTube channel. And this discussion of the budget begins at minute 56 minutes and 27 seconds. So I just wanted to kind of give you an overview. But these challenges are applied to this particular budget option with the 457 versus the next one, which is a pension plan. Again, the project reserve will change a little bit, but it's essentially for both budget proposals. We're using some funds for recurring costs to update the town website and to increase the capability of our auditing and reporting system for finance department. That'll be hopefully just not be available in the future years. So then let's go into some generalized overview. This is a screenshot of what the projected operating revenues under this budget proposal, this option. And it's good because it gives you an overview over the last number of years since fiscal 2021 all the way through to the current proposed budget of 2026. So you kind of get an idea of our revenues. The sources of the revenue is important in terms of taxes, taxes, permits, intergovernmental revenues. That's typically, up until recent times, the ARPA money. Our charges for services and other categories, which are the source of our funding. This next slide, or the next picture, is kind of busy, but I wanted to show you this as an overview of our operating expenditures since 2021 all the way through to the current budget proposal. And but particular of importance, I believe, is the one at the bottom here where my cursor is, general fund expenditures. And again, it gives you totals from as far back as FY fiscal year 2021. The variances, but I think it's important to look at here expenditures per capita, expenditures per residential unit. And I think that to me is a beginning of a what I would call a dashboard, or how we perform, how the budget performs in terms of your tax dollars and how they're used. This is good that we're seeing it up front. That is, we're seeing it during the budget review, versus typically we don't see it until after the budget's approved and it's in the document. So this is a positive outcome, and I wish I had caught this earlier, and I wish we had done this earlier in my term when we reviewed budgets. So that's probably something I should have pushed forward a lot sooner. Nevertheless, it's a good to have here now, and hopefully we can build on that in the future. So this next budget item, the budget draft, the other option is budget with a pension, specialized pension, which, as you may or may not recall, the council approved this during last year's budget cycle. That resulted in the 3-cent tax increase to property taxes to specifically go after a specific specialized pension for public works and our police force. Again, the budget challenges are typically the same for both budgets. Again, I would just briefly refer you to the projected revenues and the amount of unrestricted or reserve, and their increase from the previous budget or the current budget of 2025, and then the expenses, how they are projected, and the increase from the previous budget, and that is the current budget. Again, the same thing with respect to the project reserve. There's a difference in the unassigned fund balance because of there's a significant cost with respect to the pension development. This is frankly a guesstimate or an estimate, because we have not received specific details on the cost of that. The staff's been working on it since not quite a year, but close to a year. We've gotten 2 presentations from 2 vendors with some estimates, but we have not reached any final conclusion as to, or final numbers, what that may or may not cost under this particular pension. That's an unknown. I wish we had more information, but we don't at this point. Again, this scenario with the pension budget with the pension, again, you can see an overview of our operating revenues, and again, our revenue sources. Then also, again, is the overview of operating expenditures. And I don't know why, but this particular option, they didn't have the other chart where they had the ratios of expenditures per capita and expenditures per unit. I'm not sure why that wasn't in this particular scenario or this option, but hopefully that'll be clarified shortly. But again, it gives you an overview of our operating expenditures since FY21 and the various categories of how we spend your tax dollars. So, like I said earlier, at our March 18th meeting, the council did not reach any conclusion. There was no vote with respect to the 2 drafts of the operating budget, that is with the 457 deferred compensation versus the pension plan. So we're going to continue that review at our next meeting on March the 25th, which is a Tuesday, starting at 6 p.m. And then we'll get our first review of our enterprise funds, which is water, sewer, sanitation, trash pickup, and recycling, stormwater management. And then again, we'll get 2 options, one with the 457 and one with the pension. In fact, as I speak, and today is Friday, March the 21st, a little after 1 p.m., we the council, we just received an email with those two budgets, enterprise fund budgets, so I'll start my review this afternoon and over the weekend, so I'm ready for Tuesday night. So I just wanted to I wanted to come back and try to do a quick update as we review each budget and after our council meeting. I did wait a little bit longer than I wanted to because I wanted to make a reference to the Town of La Plata YouTube channel where you can view the town meeting on YouTube, and specifically reference the two times when we have our discussions about the Finance Committee as well as the council discussion on the budget. So thanks again for indulging me, for listening and watching these videos. Again, I was just trying to make sure that you have as much information, or at least some information, before you get a chance to weigh in on the budget. So again, thanks for listening and watching. Please email me your questions or comments to my email address at djenkins@townoflaplata.org. Please stay safe, take care of each other. Hopefully we're enjoying and looking forward to spring. I think yesterday was the first day of spring. So enjoy the weather, and again, thanks for listening and watching.